Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Karma Cards. So today is Wednesday, June 23rd. I had to think about that for a second. And I want to say that the first thing we can celebrate is Mercury has officially stationed direct. So it's stationing right now, which means it's coming, it visually looks like it's coming to a stop before it starts spinning in its direct motion. So the good news here is that we're wrapping up this crazy Mercury retrograde. Hopefully your technology will start acting normal again. Hopefully your mail will cease to be a problem. Fingers crossed. So that's the first good news. Following that, on the 24th, which is Thursday for the United States, we have the full moon. So it's on the 25th for those in the southern hemisphere. But we have the full moon in Capricorn, which I'm so excited about. There's going to be a lot of energy when you've got the full moon in Capricorn, right? This is all about that practicality, the planning for the earthly things that you're manifesting. It's a really good time to think about what you want to culminate, right? Because the full moon represents a culmination point. So it's all gathering together. But even more importantly, what on the physical plane are you ready to let go of? What are you ready to be like, this isn't serving me anymore, and I'd like to let this go now. This is a great time to organize. It's one of the signs that loves practicality, planning, organization. So that's going to come forward for a lot of people, and you're going to feel that energy. I love to look at what the cosmic energy is doing with the full moon. So tomorrow on the 24th, there's going to be the full moon spirit circle. And if you'd like to join us, just go to this link right here and click on it and join us. Now, I understand that by the time you see this, it probably will be the 24th. And you might be like, Therese, come on, why can't you release this earlier so I can join you? Well, the good news is you can join almost right up until the moment of the spirit circle. You can get right in. So if you're seeing this and you're like, that's what I want to do, I want to gather with awesome people, work on clearing out my energy, work on focusing on what I can let go of so I can make room for the next manifestation in my life, then come join me at the full moon spirit circle on the 24th. So in other planet news, we have Jupiter, which will be stationing retrograde pretty much right on the full moon, which is one of those auspicious events when we have a full moon and one of the major planets stationing retrograde. That's an interesting thing to look at. So not only are we going to be focusing on what it is we're ready to let go of and plan for making space for what we want by allowing ourselves to edit out what no longer works for us. We've got Jupiter it's going to start stationing retrograde, which means we're going to be doing some internal thinking, internal focusing on the areas around abundance, expansion, joy. We're going to take a deep inward look. So if you put these two together, this cleaning out, organizing, getting serious and practical and grounded, we're going to be doing all of that around the areas of joy, expansion, abundance, good luck, that kind of energy. So it's almost as if we're making space for this. So a lot of stuff will be brought to the surface during this time about what's blocking joy, expansion, abundance, good luck in our lives. It's a great time to get in alignment with that energy and just go within, because this whole period, so when this stuff comes up, it's not about looking at it and feeling bad for what's blocking us. It's literally an opportunity to make a shift, to see it and go, wow, that line of thinking, that pattern of behavior that I've been holding on to truly isn't serving me. And now I see how I've been limiting myself. Now I have the opportunity to see, hey, this is where I might be sabotaging my own future without even realizing it. So if you're starting to feel that energy come forward, I want to tell you, great job, because you're riding the cosmic wave, all right? And if you haven't felt that yet, but you start to feel it coming, try not to turn away from it. Try not to push it out of your consciousness, but allow it to sit. Now that can be uncomfortable. It's certainly uncomfortable for me. It's probably uncomfortable for you to let those things sit when it finally unlocks in your mind where, wow, this is the game that I've been playing and I didn't even realize. That can suck when that information comes up. But if you allow it to sit there and show itself to you, and if you can keep yourself out of a self-judgment space where you're like, okay, that's what's been operating. It's kind of like when your car breaks down and you go and you look for the problem. Most of us don't have a reaction when we look for the problem. They're like, how could you, carburetor? How dare you? Like, you've been ruining my life, carburetor. No, we're like, oh, great. It's the carburetor. Well, let me get that fixed or replaced, right? We get it out of there. We don't spend a lot of time hating on it. I mean, we might be frustrated that we had to go through some discomfort because of it. But ultimately, once we figure out what the problem is, we feel pretty good and we have a good handle on how we're going to move forward in a better way. So when these patterns show up in ourselves, our goal here is to not go into the ego, negative self-talk, the self-defeating, like, well, this is why I told you you can't deserve good things because you always sabotage yourself and you're going to do it again, blah, 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 blah. That voice will come out. And what we're going to want to do is be like, I hear you. Thank you for your 2 cents. Now, here, go have a coffee. Just go. Here's a couple bucks. Go see a Star Wars, right? Like, that's what we want to do when that voice comes up. And instead, we're going to feel all that information come in, recognize where it's been limiting us, and then make a new choice. Do I want to continue with this operating in the back of my subconscious, or am I ready to recognize the next opportunity that it may show itself and make a new choice, a different choice? When you get to that space, you know you're already moving forward and you did the work. So when this comes up, just know that all of that is part of the process and that you're doing it well. And then you're going to think about what's different. You know, if this is the pattern, then what does a different pattern look like? What's the opposite of that pattern? What's a better pattern? Right? What's more of a match to me now? So that's the energy of what's coming up in the cosmos. And 5 days, like on the the 30th-ish, right around the 30th, Neptune will also be going retrograde. And what's really interesting is both of these are retrograding in Pisces. And Pisces is connected to like what's beyond the veil. So it's like this deep psychic awareness. It's also connected to like endings and new beginnings, right? So it's like the crossing over. It also is connected to the subconscious mind. So big things can come forward. Now, what's really interesting is that while it goes inward, and this is a deep spiritual dig. So this whole Jupiter, Neptune retrograde, both in the sign of Pisces, is about this spiritual cleanup, spiritual healing. What the caution here, I would say, the challenge with these two planets in Pisces is the idea of wanting to escape because it represents something so huge. So with Pisces energy representing the subconscious mind, representing the afterlife, the other world, well, that is a huge energy. I mean, the subconscious mind, we don't know its limits. And in fact, much of the studying that I've done has pretty much stated that the subconscious mind sort of looks like an iceberg. So at the very tip, what's above the water, that would be our conscious mind. Under the water, right, we see the bigger iceberg, which represents our personal subconscious mind. But it doesn't end there. If you keep going down deeper and deeper, eventually what you're going to see is that this iceberg, your iceberg, is connecting with other icebergs, right? So this represents the deep connection to our collective consciousness. So it is a overwhelming and intimidating energy to be confronted with, because deep spiritual cleanup doesn't just mean this lifetime. It could mean other lifetimes. It can mean the things that you've forgotten, right? Because of having to go through the veil of forgetting to incarnate here on the physical plane. It could really have a big impact, which can feel overwhelming and existential. And so the challenge with these two planets going into a retrograde is the desire to escape, right? That's one of the things that Pisces is on the shadow side of Pisces, is this desire to F it, I'm out, right? Like I'm going to go in a Netflix spiral, or I'm going to go distract myself with my favorite thing to get addicted to or distracted by. I don't want to be here. I want to get away, right? That's the challenge. So what we can know as we move into this energy is that there is a huge reward. The balance of that. So the challenge being it's so big you want to escape it. But the balance, the positive is it's so big that even unlocking some of it has this massive potential that moves through time and space in a non-linear way, meaning like what you could heal right now, even if it's just one pattern of maybe self-sabotage, would not just heal this lifetime, but all previous lifetimes, and most definitely all future lifetimes as well. It has this trajectory on it that's monumental. So the rewards are big as well. So the advice that I'm going to follow and that I want to give you is baby steps, right? A little at a time. When things feel overwhelming, rather than trying to bulldoze yourself into a healing state, try to sit with it for just 5 minutes. Set a timer. You could do 3 minutes if you want. If you're like 5 minutes is too much, set a timer for 3 minutes. Just put it on. You don't have to change the feeling. You don't have to change the thoughts. You just have to be with it for 5 minutes and just breathe. Like, this is the thing. It's right here. I'm nervous. I am disappointed. I am scared. Whatever it is. And to just practice the acceptance of it. That right there is a really powerful move, because what you're telling yourself, both on every level, mind, body, soul, spirit, is that what you are right now is perfectly okay. And that is something that we rarely get in this world. We're trying, but most of us will give it to other people, but refuse to give it to ourselves, because we hold ourselves to maybe pretty rigid and high standards depending on who you're talking to. It takes practice to allow yourself to be okay with where you're at. But by doing that, you are doing more healing work than maybe you realize. You've done something a lot bigger, because what you're creating here is a trust that's built on all of these levels of body trust. It's okay to be in my body. My body's like, oh, thank God. I'm like, I can be here, right? Mind trust. It's okay for me to have my thoughts that it doesn't say anything about me. It's just a thought. And it's like, oh, whew, now I can let go of that thought. On a soul level, right, that deep self-acceptance. And of course on a spirit level, which allows us to just stay open and in the flow. So while all of that comes up, right, when all this big, intense, spiritual, really beautiful energy comes forward that can feel maybe too big to hold, all we need to do is stay present, right? And that presence allows you to ground. And grounding is so, so, so important when you're doing spiritual work. I mean, there's many people I'm connected to, and this represents me as well. We'll go deep into spirit. We'll go deep into the psyche. We'll hang out there and wander around, see what's working and what's not. But we don't want to be in the body so much. Like, the physical plane's pretty disappointing. It's not what we thought. It doesn't look like the brochure. And so we were like, I'd rather hang out up here, in here, but way, way up there as well, than stay down here and feel this here in the body. And what that does is, well, it cuts off part of our intelligence, because a holistic intelligence system includes the body and includes the body's information about whatever we are experiencing. So in order to really master this deep spiritual work that's coming our way, we want to stay grounded in the body. So taking that 3 to 5 minutes, fantastic. Taking it outside, even better. Taking it outside without shoes on, standing on the earth, the best. Outside, standing on the without shoes on the earth, somewhere deep in nature, even better. Like, it's so good, okay? These things are pretty easy to do, and they feel good at the same time as we're unlocking all this big stuff. Now, I also understand that many times these things come up when you can't be outside in nature without shoes, right? Maybe you're driving in the car in a commute on the way home. Maybe you're in the middle of cooking a meal. Maybe you're in the middle of your workday. So that's where we just connect back to the breathing. The breathing, right, is the gift of life. It's coming through the body, and getting conscious about our breath naturally connects you back to your body. So 3 to 5 minutes of breathing and allowing is pretty much, that's it. That's the baby step that you can do. The bigger work, it will unfold from there. You can trust it. You can trust that whatever you're not working on consciously, your subconscious mind will continue to work on for you. We're only given what we can handle, right? So even though our consciousness and subconscious are going to be in closer contact, and more, the conscious mind will be way more aware of what's going on subconsciously. You're not going to be given more than you can truly handle. And then just try breaking it down into the baby steps. Okay, now let's do karma cards. So for those who are new to karma cards, let me quickly tell you how they work. I have 3 decks here: the planets, signs of the zodiac, and houses of astrology. And I've already asked my team, what's the message for this week? And they've given me 2 sets of answers, one in red and one in blue. We have action-related answers and outcome-related answers. And all you have to do is intuitively tune in and feel, what do you need right now? Do I want some action steps to take over the next week? Or do I want to know how things are going to turn out within this week? And of course, if you want both, you can always choose both. So while you're intuitively deciding, let me tell you the timing for this reading. This reading is for Wednesday, June 23rd through Wednesday, June 30th. And the flavor of this reading, we have Mars. I say Mars, action-oriented Mars. Mars is all about how we take action. Being influenced by, guess who? The sign of Pisces. What? Yeah, very much in alignment with what's going on in what? The 12th house, which represents the subconscious mind and is also ruled by Pisces. So everything that I just talked about this Piscean energy we're about to jump into, hang on, because it's all playing out in this next week. We really feel it. This is when these 2 planets go into retrograde together. All right, so for those who are choosing action, your spiritual action, energize your dreams, seeking oneness with all there is. I like this. I can do that. I can absolutely do that. Energize your dreams, seeking oneness with all that is. So remember, this 12th house represents the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind, a lot of teachers out there even say that the subconscious mind is actually quite possibly connected to the Akashic records, which holds all information of the universe that ever is, was, or will be. That's how big it is. It is limitless, right? Energize your dreams, seeking oneness with all there is. Oneness with Source, with God, the universe, whatever you choose to call it. And your dreams, right? This is usually connected to what you wish for yourself, your destiny, how you see your life, where you want it to go, your goals long term, right? Well, this is the time to connect those goals to Source. How are they connected? They are. Your destiny is very, 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 very much connected to source. Now is the time to think about that and to make that neuropathway connection. Mental action at this time. Confront your idealization of philanthropy. Whenever this one comes up, it's interesting. So philanthropy. So big acts or gestures also reside in the 12th house. How we give, how we're giving of ourselves. Confront your idealization of, it's interesting here because I know in my own life I've had limits on what philanthropy is. I had this very set idea that it's, it was about being able to give money, and I always felt so kind of dejected from that because I always felt like I never had enough. So idealization, what is it? Like, what do you think that is? Because giving comes in so many forms. And I know that the people listening to this, you guys get that. But we still want to look at, where am I holding myself back? Where am I telling myself I'm not doing enough? Now it probably speaks to my audience, because I know many of you are great at giving, maybe even too good at giving, like a little bit of an overgiver, right? So what it's going to ask you to look at then is like, why isn't enough? Why isn't what you're doing enough? Are you acknowledging yourself for what you give of yourself? What exactly in your brain is giving about? Like, identify that, break it down. Where are you putting it out of your own reach? And get serious. Like, confronting it means like head on, right? I'm going to look at this. I'm not going to just, skim it. I'm going to take a moment to really be like, wow, what, why isn't it enough? Why isn't what I do enough? Where do I give? Can I figure out all the ways I give, right? And we're going to look at that. Find those self-limiting beliefs. Physical action. Force yourself to be a part of something overwhelming and keep your involvement hidden. Well, you can hear the subconscious mind and the Piscean energy all over this. So the force yourself, really this comes from Mars. It's a bit aggressive. It's a bulldozing kind of statement. Force yourself. I'm not loving that part, but let's look at what it's saying together. Force yourself to be a part of something overwhelming and to keep your involvement hidden. Believe it or not, you're already part of something overwhelming, right? You've heard me talk about star seeds before. Those who recognize and identify the term star seed, you're already a part of something overwhelming, right? I've talked about this on my Modern Mystic Soul podcast, kind of what the great galactic plan was and how all of these beings from other places, right, volunteered to come to Earth to be a part of this huge shift that's taking place here now. So I feel like it's mostly like, open your eyes and see that you're a part of something. Right? If any of that statement resonates for you, that you're part of something bigger, you volunteered to come here to raise the frequency, if any of that resonates for you, deeply consider this statement, that you're a part of something big. Now, I don't know about you, but when I hear that thing, that I'm part of something big and I need to keep my involvement hidden, I immediately like, well, what do I need to do? Like, I got to do something? No, not really. You're already doing it. It's mostly about just opening your conscious awareness to the fact that just being here makes you a part of something big, right? And keep your involvement hidden. Sometimes secrets are a part of the 12th house, this whole thing of secrecy and, that is a part of the 12th house, but I feel like it's like you don't need to go around walking around being like, hey, did you know I'm a starseed? Like, did you know I'm here for something big? I mean, it's not necessary to do the job, right? And might make some situations really awkward for you. So this is about your awareness. Now, I know that when I get excited about something, when I have an aha, when something truly resonates with me, you bet I want to share it. And that's what I do. I love to share it with other people. The minute I figure something out, I'm like, you gotta try this. So, this whole statement here, puts me personally in a lot of conflict because I'm not going to bulldoze myself or force anything. And if it's something good, I have a hard time keeping it to myself. I think that this is just like, this is your journey. It's about you getting the aha. What's for you isn't always for everyone. And everybody's on their own path. Remember, I keep saying this. It's like we're all walking our own individual paths, linked arm in arm. So your path may look very different than mine, but we're still working on this together. So again, don't worry about others who don't get it. It's okay. This is for you. It really is for you right now. Okay, so now let's go to outcomes for Mars in Pisces in the 12th house of the subconscious mind. Your spiritual outcome at this time is the drive for spirituality to ultimately experience your faith. Yeah. Okay, I could be done, right? It kind of says it right there. I told you we're walking into this very deep spiritual healing window is opening right now, and we're walking in. And once you're in this kind of cosmic cloud of spiritual healing and deep mental diving and looking in the subconscious mind, it's going to motivate you. It's going to bring you closer to something, closer to your core, closer to oneness. That's in there too. So even though it's big, it's overwhelming, some of it might be painful, it ultimately brings you deeper and closer to the core of you. Mental outcome at this time, the confronting of trusting your psychic knowledge of hidden tendencies. Yeah, I love this. So the confronting, that's the Mars part. This part, it's so funny. Like these are so gelled together, and this is just so, it's like oil and water. That's what it feels like. The confronting of trusting your psychic knowledge of hidden tendencies. When you go into this big psychic, spiritual healing cloud that we're coming up against, there might be this, especially if you have self-trust issues, you might get deep information and go, is that right? Like, is that a thing? Is that even a thing that's happening? So self-trust issues, very, very much inside this psychic Piscean healing cloud. That's definitely something that a lot of people are going to be confronted with. You got to go deeper. You got to trust yourself. Only you actually hold the answers. I said this before too. All psychic information, especially if it pertains to you, comes to you first. It really does. So it's not going to come to some, psychic reader. It's not going to come to, your favorite YouTube personality before it comes to you. It's always with you. And in fact, when you go and get a reading with someone like me, I'm reading what your team is saying, what your energy is already holding. And the reason why most of us don't get it for ourselves is we just don't trust. And when you don't trust, it's like you've got a door that's locked and you have no key, because the trust is the key that unlocks the door. So that's going to come up for some people. If you've been working on your self-trust, it's probably going to challenge that. It's going to take you even deeper, give you more information, and give you an opportunity to trust even deeper. So we'll see what we get, right? Physical outcome at this time. Action resulting from the indecision of or about large institutions or overwhelming events. So it's interesting because the large overwhelming energy, definitely in this card, the 12th house, it represents sort of an external world sounding thing. There's so many things that are co-happening at the same time. We've got this big internal revolution matched with an external type of revolution going on at the same time. And I'm going to just default back to what my team always says to us, which it's always about you. Like, if you want to make great change in the world, make great change in yourself, right? Heal yourself, trust yourself, love yourself, forgive yourself. Be good with you and trust that that work and that energy has a radiant field. It does. It will affect others, because when you feel good about yourself, you naturally, my team's like, bing! When you feel good about yourself, you naturally radiate that energy to others. We're in a more giving space when we're giving to ourselves. It's kind of like metaphysical science of how it all works. So, right? I wouldn't, some of the energy I'm getting from this time period too is that when things are overwhelming and you're escaping yourself, most of the time we're going to escape to something that's external, right? Because we're trying to take our attention off of ourselves. At this time, though, because there is this big, overwhelming energy inside, it's also going to be matched on the outside. There's big, overwhelming energy on the outside as well. So it's really going to feel like there's nowhere to escape to, right? That's why, rather than trying to run from it or hide from it, we keep getting this energy of confrontation. Sit with it, be with it, right? That's the only place in which you'll know what right actions to take, what the right next step is if you sit with yourself and allow what is for you at this time. And again, that might lead to you doing something in the external world. It's very quite possibly it could. But rather than trying to solve the world's problems, solve your problems, right? So that you're in a space where you're radiating a new energy, and that new energy is what helps shift the world. I'm not saying there won't be work to do, of course, right? We can't just do everything in energy because we're on the physical plane. We're going to have to do things action-oriented, but we want to do it from a place that's the most aligned and keeps us in our personal sense of sovereignty. And it's going to be a challenge for a minute to feel sovereign and grounded when so much big spiritual energy opens up around us. That's why that practice is to really take your action to ground into your body. Feel what you're feeling in your body. Ground into your breath. And allow. Try to sit with it, knowing that the discomfort you might feel is actually going to pass quicker than you realize. It's not a forever feeling. It's not. It'll pass. But it's only going to pass when you allow it to be there. That's why, in your life, if you feel like something's always been chasing you, like I can never get away from this thought or this feeling, it's probably likely that you haven't sat with it yet, like turned around to face it and just said, okay, you got a problem, you want to tell me, I'm listening. When we do that, it's like it dissolves. And this is really the main action that's going to come up next. I hope this was helpful for you. I hope that it helps you not to brace for it. There's nothing ultimately negative here. I think it's probably one of the most beautiful energies we can have. It's going to feel so big, right? It's going to challenge our own mental borders and allow us to push ourselves open again. So I don't necessarily feel like we have to brace for anything negative, but it is good to remember, here's the tool. Oh, you're going to run into this kind of situation. Here's the tool. And that's what I'm hoping this Karma Cards episode gives you this week. Until I see you next week, I'm sending you so much love. You've got this, and I can't wait to hang out with you again. Mwah. Thank you for watching. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell so that you know the next time I release a new video. Until then, stay magical.